What's good, superstars? Back with another Veve Omi video. You got superstar Joe, you got superstar Rob, you got superstar Puddin Cheeks, and superstar Rhys in the building. How's it going, guys?
Yeah.
I survived.
Another knockout. Twice now. That's twice Joe got bested there.
Man, guys, if you are new here, do not forget. Hit the button, become a superstar, smash the subscribe button down below, hit the bell notification so you can see whenever we post videos like this with great people from the team on the channel. We're going to ask a bunch of questions, so hopefully you guys learned something today about OMI, about OUP. I think it's going to be a great time. We also have the Superstar VIP, $2.99 a month. Hit the join button underneath the video. We got a bunch of VIPs in the building, I'm sure, watching the video. We got a Twitter, Instagram, TikTok. If you want to follow us, we got a Discord in the description. If you want to go over there, there's a lot of questions asked. Now, this page here, bunch of letters. You might not know what it says, but it's for a reason. We're doing a giveaway during this stream. So live stream giveaway. We have a bunch of comments. We got Black Panther 1. We got Spider-Man 1 with the miles. And we've got a Daredevil #1. Shout out to Rich Got Gems for donating these for some giveaways. So I said, what better way to do it than put the screen up? You guys are going to want to take a screenshot or rewind and look at it. But all these words are scrambled up. You're going to want to unscramble the words. We got this idea kind of from Puddin Cheeks. He did a giveaway once like this, 100,000 Omi. So we said, why not pay it forward again? So all these words, unscramble them, take the first letter of all these words, and then you're going to want to find a 3-word phrase. I'm not telling you how many letters are in each word. It's got to be a little bit tricky, okay? But it's like VV related topics over there. So that if you do that, first person to do that in the chat, we're going to go back and run through the chat. And if I see it, you win. If nobody gets it, whoever gets it first on Twitter, you're going to get the prize. We'll mail it out to you. We'll reach out. So that's something we wanted to do. I thought it was fun.
That was a big shout out to Puddin, who gave us that idea on his last giveaway, which I think we got with some help from the other superstar Laura M and Sarah. Shout out to them. Yeah. But anyways, fun. They're fun for sure. So if you don't get it now, you can always let us know on Twitter. If nobody figures out during the stream, let us know on Twitter, and then we'll give it to the first person that got that timestamp. So good luck to everybody.
If you guys don't mind retweeting out the stream just so more people can see it, hear about it, and learn something maybe. But I think we got a lot of questions. We've collected a lot of data from the Veve fam, and I think that a lot of people will have a bunch of questions, especially because this is a new program, the OUP. So a bunch of questions came through, and we know that you guys are the two main dogs who came up with it and are going to be answering all the questions. We also done interviews with both of you. We've done an interview with Puddin before. We've done an interview with Rhys, which they said was like the greatest AMA of all time. I think Alex was the one who coined it that. I'm pretty sure. So I think we can run it back. And now we got both of you. I think we can top it for sure. So should we just get into it, Rob?
Go ahead, Joe. Start it off.
All right. So let me share my screen here. The first thing that we want to talk about is timelines on the OUP. I guess when you released this was maybe the slide that triggered the most amount of people. It was one of the biggest negative feedbacks that we got because people maybe expected a little bit more to be completed. Do you have updates on this timeline or maybe what things are going to come first? It looks like waitlist and crypto to gem, but everything else is kind of in that same range. Is there ever going to be an update where you say these are the priorities, or is it just going to be watch the circles and see what happens?
Yeah. Look, for now, it's definitely watch the circles, right? That's the whole point of the circles. And anyone that has been paying attention might notice the crypto to gem has actually progressed a little bit. But that's really been the intention until we can get everything properly scoped and in the development pipeline. Once we have that, we'll be able to say, okay, this is how long we expect this particular implementation to take. Development starting today, and we should see it by X date. So that's definitely the intention moving forward. This was really just to be able to put it in front of people and have it there. And as you said, I mean, there are so many AMAs and things happening at the moment. So having this visual representation was really important, and it will become more applicable as those items are in the development pipeline.
So is the plan to eventually just actually have like kind of like a priority list in order of what you're going to do first, second, third, or is it one of those things that you just target them all and you kind of progress everything at the same time? When you do one thing, you actually check off 3 boxes. Yeah.
So if you scroll down, we have exactly that. Right. I know a lot of people seem to get to that image and stop, but this is the development roadmap, right? So we start with those core functions and foundations because they're the systems that underpin the features. And then we we'll implement the utility systems, which is your OMI to NFT, OMI to gem, that kind of thing. So the way you see them there at the moment is the order that we think they'll roll out in. Now that may it may change here or there depending on certain dependencies and how the developers want to actually go about building these things. But at the moment, that's it's pretty set for now.
And you're still looking at that 1 year timeline from when this was released, or quicker, longer? What do you think?
Yeah, look, I think with Mitch on board and the development team really streamlining the way that we do things, it should all be done quicker than that. But I've learned my lesson many times when it comes to development. So look, for now, I'm going to stick with that 12-month time frame, just so that expectations are set, and that they're very realistic. And obviously, we'll aim to deliver these things as quickly as possible.
Yeah. So with the obviously with OUP, I mean, everybody here, and at least speaking for myself, right? I find Veve first, and then from Veve, I branch out to Omi. In terms of like the longevity and the future planning of the token, do you guys ever believe that the token can exist and succeed without Veve really bringing all the utility that it plans to bring? Can the token truly be successful without Veve? When you do that future planning right now, personally, it looks that way. But in the future, do you guys plan to say maybe we can branch out and have this token succeed without Veve?
Yeah. I mean, we're really testing the waters there with things like Tengoku, some of those kind of games that we'll continue to look into. But I mean, at the moment, the focus is Omi within Veve, right? That's how it's always been designed. That's what it was for, and the success of the token has always been intimately linked to the NFT platform. But there's no reason why it can't be used everywhere else, right? I've always envisioned a day where Omi might become the go-to NFT token or the go-to Metaverse token. As you guys know, and as everyone else knows, obviously, Veve has a really strong fundamental use case, right? And value driver and adoption use case. So the more people we can onboard into Veve and help to understand this world of digital collecting, the more people will filter across to the Omi token. I think in the short term, they're very much tied together. But longer term, there's nothing stopping us taking that token and putting it just about anywhere, really.
Yeah, so like an example would be renting, right? Like these are things that we know are part of the roadmap. They don't exist yet, but will there be I call it almost like a sales tax, maybe dedicated with some of that new utility? So instead of the actual sales itself from, let's say, the primary burns, what about something like when renting comes in or other new utility that might come in? Would there ever be a portion maybe dedicated to the Omi side and maybe burning the Omi instead?
I mean, I think the way we're approaching it at the moment is that you kind of have those two markets, Gem and Omi. So if you can list things or sell things or provide services for dollars, you could also provide them for Omi tokens. Whether we take a portion of that and burn it as well, just to kind of add that system mechanic in, I think that there's definitely room for that. But Adam, you've probably got 3,000 ideas on that front.
Yeah, I might get us in trouble if I throw out all my ideas. But Omi, what we're doing as a team is putting together systems that can be utilized, and more of this will make sense when Tengoku comes out and you get to see the system that they're going to be operating on as far as the Omi utility side. The way that system is set up, any game or any other type of platform could use that exact same system without Omi or Veve even being involved in it. They could pick that up and use it in their game and bring over the fan base from Veve the same way like with Tengoku's going on. So we're slowly putting together all the pieces to connect every side of this. So you see the things on the portal like learn to burn, all that stuff, play to earn, all the different things. It's a utility ecosystem. And right now we're just kind of in the beginning stages of getting all of this rolled out.
Okay,
cool. I guess we kind of hinted at a little bit of the vehicles for burning the Omi and things that will be coming out. I guess what are you most excited? Which vehicle most excites you when it comes to burning Omi to come in the future? Maybe already announced, maybe not announced. Like what is something that you would look forward to the most when it comes to burning Omi?
I think in the current OUP offering, probably Omi to NFT for me. I think staking will have a larger single point of impact, especially in those kind of early, the initial adoption of the staking program, because it will take a large supply out of circulation. But in terms of actually deflating the supply and burning it. Yeah, I think OMI to NFT probably has the best, for me anyway. That's what I'm looking forward to. That's what I have always held my OMI tokens for, and that's why I bought them in the first place. So to actually be able to use them for that feature is where I'm at.
How about you, Puddin?
So I like the passive things that we've included in there. And one of my favorite parts is the burn reward points, is where there's so many things we can add to the utility of those reward points later on. And it is the one true thing that rewards the people that use their OMI. You're transacting in OMI to NFT, or you're buying OMI to gems, you're getting these points. And people that aren't doing those functions do not get these points. So down the road, the amount of things that we could add to that, right now it looks really basic. Like you can turn some of them in to get some bronze tickets, or you can use them towards fast tracking. Later on, there's no telling what all we can add to that. It might be a benefit somewhere on a platform, or a discounted subscription to a service or something. It's the sky is kind of wide open for that, and we have a lot of flexibility there with what we can do with those points.
Okay, I guess maybe even like Rob and I, we had a discussion before. I think we were looking forward to like how you can use OMI and the utility in the VeVeVerse coming up. We saw that drop at DCon, and we feel like if that's the economy of the VeVeVerse, maybe that might be a great way to burn things if that really picks up and takes off. So I don't know, that for me at least, and I think Rob's on the same boat there.
Yeah, I mean, completely agree, right? At the moment, obviously, we're talking about the OUP in the VV app, but the VeVeVerse alone offers so many other places to use that token, and so many other little pockets of economy that we can create in that ecosystem. Not to mention, just being a more immersive and interactive experience. I would imagine over the next few years we'll onboard more people to that than just the VV app. So yeah, I think the opportunity there is exponentially greater than just inside the VV app.
So we actually saw you on another stream recently, just speaking about burning OMI. I think it was Captain VV, where you were asked that how much OMI do you think will burn? I think you mentioned 5 to 10 years. You think that half the circulating supply would be burnt. I believe that's what you said.
I think it's a very real possibility. Yeah.
So the question we have, because this came up a lot, can you give us some insight on how you model the OMI burn? Because there's others in the community that want to take a crack at it. They want to try to do that work for you. But if you can just give us maybe some, recommendations, some assumptions that you've made to help us make that model. Maybe you guys know too much about the future, so you can bake in a few extra things. But for the community that wants to do this, can you help them explain how you built that model?
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure Adam can much better than I can at this point. He's our numbers guy, but it is important to understand that there are a lot of variables, right? And you're not just dealing with a fluctuating token price, which affects the way that you model things, but you're dealing with these kind of ongoing market cycles, which for us mean adoption cycles, right? The amount of users that come in, the new users, that kind of thing. But in terms of the actual modeling and how we crunch some of those numbers, I mean, maybe you can give some things away, Adam, or share things without giving them away, I should say.
So the first step is understanding that you can't model it. So you have to use historical data and predictive data. So we know sales based off blockchain. We can somewhat separate primary and secondary. We know users coming in and out, and then you have the attrition like Rhys was talking about. It's like you get new users come in, how many of them stay, that kind of stuff. So looking forward, you can look at revenue and then look at all the individual systems. So breaking it down, like let's say that in the future, 50% of all trades, I love your cut, by the way, 50% of all trades are OMI to NFT, and the other 50% stay like they are. So even just that is an estimate. Like you don't know how many people are going to swap to use one system or the other. So you model it to both ends of the spectrum, and then you look at it based off that. The core primary function of the OUP is everything that happens in the OUP ends up being an OMI burn. Even on OMI to NFT, you can look at it where the buyer side and the seller side is an OMI burn on the OUP fee specifically. So you have a OMI fee if you're a buyer that automatically just goes away. Then on the seller side, you have that little piece that goes to the OMI to gem pool, which ends up being a burn when somebody buys those gems with OMI. So if you back out of that and remove the complexity of it, it's really both halves of that. So if you have two people that aren't stakers that are trading with each other, 5% of every transaction is gone in OMI. And so if you even take half of what the estimated secondary trading volume was across the all time, you're looking at a very large number just based on historical data and not even accounting for what is the next bull run like, what is the next license release look like, any of that kind of stuff. So factoring in fluctuating OMI price, you can set up a model, you can do a high OMI value, you can do a low OMI value, you can do a variable, all kinds of stuff. So without getting super boring and running this whole stream, it's very complex to try to get it close, but you can stand back at it at 10,000 feet and kind of halfway calculate through it.
Well, I wouldn't call it boring though. Math is fun, right?
To me. But I've really, I don't know if Rhys thinks that anymore.
I appreciate maths. I appreciate the art, but it's not my thing. Yeah. Yeah. Look, I would just add to that too. I mean, if anyone is going to have a crack at this, you can obviously play with the variables of how many people at each staking tier, roughly what what you would expect their volume to be, what their trading fee is, that kind of thing, and get a bit more granular. And I think it's pretty easy to make some of those assumptions. If you're looking at the $40,000 price tag and you were looking at today's token value, you can see how many people are holding the right amount of tokens or more to be able to be at each tier. So you can kind of break down the info that way. Obviously that changes as soon as the price goes up or the price goes down. So you can try and factor in that variable too. But yeah, look, we spent 6 months, I think, kicking around most of this, and probably really over the last 12, and trying to refine those systems. But as I've said to people from the start, we won't truly know until all of these features are in place and working together. And at that point, we can tweak the incentives and change the rewards to encourage or incentivize people to actually stake or to use these features. So.
And when you model it, do you have like a year-by-year model that you can maybe check as it goes and just kind of confirm and adjust as required?
I modeled it out to 2050.
2050?
Oh, wow.
Okay. And what did 2050 tell you?
I'm not going to say.
Okay. All right. That's all right. Thanks for letting us know, though. I mean, like I said, I believe that the community can take what you just mentioned right now and maybe come up with something different, maybe even bring inspiration to you as well. So thanks for sharing that.
And I mean, to the same point, we're talking about a model just within the Veve app, right? That's not including Tengoku burns. It's not including community burns. It's not including the VeVeVerse at all, right? So I would argue that even though our models are based on variables and assumptions, they're probably conservative in comparison to what we'll end up with.
Yeah. Okay. I see a question here from Hello K, actually relatable. So I wanted to bring it up. Just saying, using the historical data, not to be distorted, as we know there was artificial inflow due to the gem scandal or whatever. Has that been corrected in your model? I'm assuming so.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
All right.
Next one. David, you recently said that he plans to do mass marketing in 2023. Is the plan to market only for Veve, or are we planning to market for the OMI token OUP? Is that part of that marketing plan?
Yeah, so I hope it's Alex doing the marketing and not David, because David will just give things away. Yeah, there is, right? But look, for us, it's really important to understand that the most targeted marketing we can do for the token is to the Veve user base, right? Because they're already qualified audience. They understand the app and what the token would help them with, right? How they would get some advantage by using the token. So there will be a lot of focus there, and really building in and refining the onboarding process, right? So that a new user that signs up for Veve understands that there is a token attached to it and how they can use it. Outside of that, yeah, look, we'll look to push into the wider crypto sphere. But the marketing options there are really still quite limited, right? There's obviously a lot of big YouTube channels that are great for exposure. Any exchanges tend to do with a marketing rollout, that kind of thing, but you're still quite limited in where you can advertise a token and what it's for, at least until we can show that real utility within the app.
Well, it looks like you guys got a lot of IP. Very interested in your product in the VeVe side of things. I think obviously they're paying attention that you guys have an underlying token and whatnot. Have they ever asked or have you guys ever reached out about getting them to implement your token? Because you have big brands there that maybe if they ever were to do something that had Omi in it, maybe it would expedite that burn.
Yeah, I mean they are on Veve, right?
Yeah.
That's our play, right? That's where that comes in as a licensing company. Unless they go and build out their own Web3 experience where they need a token, it's not really applicable. So it's more to use their IP to bring people into our ecosystem and then support the token. No way.
Okay.
So help us understand maybe this dynamic internally with MCP and OUP, right? Because in a way, they're almost competing for the same liquidity within the market to succeed. You have some people want to focus on Omi. We actually had a lot of talk about VV influencers being public about selling all their collectibles to go to Omi. And then you have the MCP program on the other hand, which is supposed to encourage collecting. Like, is there ever an internal kind of discussion about, do we make the OUP too good that might take away from the MCP and collectibles? Just what are your thoughts on that dynamic between the two and how they're going to work together in the future?
I don't personally see them as competition. I don't think that we really operate that way, for one. And both of these things are supposed to augment and supplement your collecting experience, right? And that means that they're going to target different people, right? I mean, there's already so many different types of people that use the app, right? Some that are collectors, some are flippers, some are holders, investors, whatever you want to label them. So I don't see this as being any different. It's just offering a rewards and incentive program to the main two categories of user. But the MCP side of things is they're infinite points, right? So as far as I'm concerned, the value that they have on them is probably less, or at least not as quantifiable. And then really, I think the Omi token gives a lot of people a chance that come into the app later, right? That haven't come in yet. They don't have a big collection. They're not going to have this infinite run of MCP points. We're using the OUP. You can really get off the ground and start that collection, right? I hesitate to say pay to play because it's not pay to play, but it gives you an opportunity to pay to get ahead if you are really invested into the app. So that's how I look at it. Adam, have you got a different opinion there?
I think they complement each other, and we were really careful to not to ensure that the OUP doesn't come in and destroy the experience for anybody that doesn't want to be involved in using the Omi token. And then at the same time, the MCP doesn't reverse and do the same thing to the OUP side. So there was a lot of thought and planning in the balance of the two parts and the different perks that each system gives. We didn't really have a lot to do with the design and implementation of the MCP, but we knew what was going on the whole time. And if we come in with this just absolutely devastating Omi function that just anybody that doesn't want to use Omi is automatically at a disadvantage, that wouldn't have been good.
Yeah, that answered my question, because like when I'm comparing the two and even my own personal situation, right? It's like, well, I don't want to sell any collectibles because the MCP program has lots of great benefits, the MCP Pro, but the Omi or the OUP can give different benefits. So I understand. And that's why we and Joe were talking about it. It's like, it's almost parasitic in some sense that maybe if we make one too good, then it'll that teeter-totter. And I think that answered my question, put that internal discussion you guys might have had and how you came to that balance. So thanks for that.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, like you said, I think there's more symbiotic than they are parasitic. And really, they both just add that layer of gamification, right? There's going to be arbitrage between collectibles and Omi and all those kind of things. So if you're really, on point and understand the app and how you can take advantage of either one of these systems, you can actually, you can use them both to your advantage rather than one outweighing the other.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah, and I think you kind of just talked about it, how you said they're symbiotic, and I think you kind of maybe touched on this question a little earlier, but I ask you anyways. The plan long term, I guess, here is to make Veve and Omi so integrated together that if anyone were to make an offer for Veve, I know we're not selling it, but if they were, they would need to have Omi still backing the app. Right now, I mean, there's no utility, or we're making utility eventually this year, but I guess is the plan, that's the question, is the plan long term to have it so integrated that if it were ever to be sold or whatever, nobody with Omi token would have to worry?
Yeah. I mean, it's already that integrated for us, right? And it's always been part of the ecosystem, so it makes no difference to us moving forward, whether those two programs in the app change. But longer term, and we've kicked this around, I think we'll end up tying MCP ranks to a particular staking tier and things like that. We can also use your staking tiers within the Veve app. Other games and other platforms can reference those and offer you staking discounts or, some sort of tiered benefit in external platforms too. So, I mean, it's always been crucial to our ecosystem and will continue to be.
Yeah, I like that you just mentioned that, because we wanted to ask you about specifically how Omi may eventually be linked to the MCP program. One thing in particular that caught our eye was that MCP Pro will eventually allow extended AR features within the Omi within the Veve app, which I actually don't know what those extended AR is. So is the plan that eventually you will actually be able to use the Omi token to get special access to things within the Veve app? So that you can give it additional perks within it beyond what we already have right now? Yeah,
so it wouldn't be using the Omi token directly, but it would be part of staking, right? You get those tier benefits for staking, and that's where you get those rewards. So I think that's more likely where it ties in.
And what is this extended AR? Do you know what they mean when they say that in terms of the article when they mention that?
No idea. No, I'm sure we'll find out together. But no, I think there's a range of new AR features that will become available in the next few years. How they tier those or offer them as part of MCP Pro, I have no idea. No, we'll have to wait and see.
Okay. As everybody knows, I have major issues with the recent airdrops that have gone on the Veve side. My 007 airdrop that I never received, but that was because I sold it right afterwards. And I guess I didn't hold it for that length of time for the screenshot to take place. And we've learned that now. And people are adjusting their strategies, and their Veve's putting out better, I guess, announcements to tell you how to do it or when to hold it until. I guess with all the issues that there's been with some airdrops in the recent past, is there anything in place that will prevent similar things from happening when it comes to delivering bronze, silver, gold tickets? Is there going to be like some testing or whatever that goes on, just so people can have confidence that, like, we don't want to see people say, I didn't get my ticket, and then see that whole argument on Twitter and whatever. We want to make sure that we have something in place that works. I guess that's all part of the beta testing and whatnot, but are we going to make sure that it's all clear and stuff?
Yeah, and then look, I can't guarantee you won't see people complaining about it on Twitter, even if you work. So just be aware.
Yep.
But of course. Look, I think once those systems are ready, it'd be pretty easy to basically airdrop out some bronze tickets to people, make sure that those things are working, and test those features and functions. But that's all part of the streamlined development pipeline now.
Yeah, and that's a different type of snapshot altogether, because we're going to have an active status on everyone's wallets at any given time, because it's always going to have to be known, because every feature you use in the OUP relies on your staking tier. Like, it has some connection to that in some way, whether it be your fees or your discounts or your perks. So when they do that snapshot, it'll already have a database of accounts and what staking tier you're in. So it will be more instantaneous than having to scan hundreds of thousands of wallets for specific collectibles, which takes a little bit of time on the IMX side of things just to go through and do all of that. So it should be a little bit more streamlined, but yes, it will be tested, and we don't want that one to fail on the very first snapshot for sure.
Correct. Yeah, and look, just to your point, obviously we're learning these lessons as we go as well. We've nailed things very consistently for a very long time, and then as we start to change our back end systems, and there's more staff and there's more communication that needs to happen, and sometimes you find chinks in the armor, but we'll get there. Everything comes back around. Yeah.
Cool.
So we were wondering with the unsold collectibles that are currently in the store right now, they're going to get burned, they're going to get wasted, thrown out because nobody wants them anymore. So that's maybe the decision of the licensor. But has there ever been any discussion, as more of a suggestion, about maybe using unsold collectibles as rewards for OUP?
There hasn't yet. No, we've deliberately kind of kept these OUP functions separate from the licensors and the licensed content. I think it will remain that way for a bit longer. We really are quite early in the adoption of alternative payment methods. So I think until we can really prove the use case there, they'll remain separate. To be honest, I don't think that I think the community backlash from that would be worse than just destroying the collectibles, right? At least if we do that, then it's even for everybody. Whereas if we start using them as rewards, then we're diluting your holdings if you've bought based on a number and all that thing. So yeah, there's a possibility there, but I don't think it's a very high chance at this stage.
Somebody sent them our questions. Our next question, these are user submitted, but this one was a hot topic. A lot of people were talking about it, I guess, during the time between when we organized this and now. So there was a lot of discussion about the reward program internally that you guys had with the Discord mods and whatever is going on with that. And you mentioned about taking liquidity away from the market. You don't want to upset people with any future rewards with OMI. So you kind of answered that question. But people wanted a little bit maybe more transparency. I know that there was some talks about how you guys hold them back and you're going to be giving them away in certain ways. And I think that was okay. Like we understood that part, but I think it was more about how or what that people are a little bit more upset about. I guess one of the questions is it happening only with Discord or is it happening with other staff with that reward program? And has there been any internal discussions regarding obviously the backlash on Twitter and everywhere about that program?
Yeah, I mean, we talk about these things. It's hard not to see blow-ups when they happen, but I think it's a complete non-event, personally. Yeah. Right? And this is my opinion, right? And just to clarify there, you mentioned something about liquidity from the market. I'm talking about diluting collectible holdings, nothing about liquidity from the market, right? Okay. And I think Alex has touched on this already, but obviously, one, we've always held that collectible allocation for this kind of thing, right? For giveaways, airdrops, rewards, whatever it happens to be. But the second thing I think that really needs to be pointed out is that our moderators are volunteers and they're moderating in the only official community space that VV hosts, right? So I don't think that there's any reason to be upset about those volunteers being rewarded, especially considering that none of them were for the first 12 months of moderating, right? It was all volunteer based. Now that that's out in public, cool. Yeah, maybe we could have approached it better, but none of us thought that it would be a problem in the first place. So we'll always work on that communication there. But I don't agree that it takes liquidity out of the market, right? These are collectibles that people are being rewarded for their time and for their energy. If that person chooses to sell that collectible after they receive it, that's up to them. It's their possession. But you're talking about 15 or 20 of the most passionate and dedicated VV fam in existence, right? So I think they've more than done their time and more than earned any reward that we choose to give them. And they are entitled to do whatever they please with those rewards.
Yeah, I think there's never a question if they deserve it. I mean, I think that they work hard for it and they've put in time and they're not doing it for anything other than like when they joined, they did it for out of their own goodwill, right? So I mean, for you guys to go and recognize that, I think that's cool. I think, like you said, it's just about like maybe the communication way that went about. But now that we've seen like for this type of reward system, I guess you guys hold back your 50 to give away. Moving forward, I guess you answered Rob's question about not having any licensee ties to the OUP, but when it comes to like the app in general, I know airdrops, there's issues with licensors, announced some licensors, because we've seen today with DC where you guys did it after the fact, which was cool. You changed it up a bit and you were able to airdrop after like you snapshotted it before you told people. I guess there's other licensors on the app that aren't too cool with that, but we've seen some of those rewards being from Disney, from Marvel. Is there something that maybe you guys in future could do if it's a small enough group where you can do airdrops using those 50 with any license because you already own them? Is that something that works like that?
If it's a small enough group, if there was some justification for such a tiny sort of airdrop allotment, I don't see why not. But for us, I guess, those, especially when we're looking at like season 1, season 2 collectibles, as the years go on, the earlier the seasons, those items will become rarer and rarer. So I think they're things we want to be able to give away in the next few years, rather than here's our allotment and we just get rid of the whole thing. Yeah.
Okay, cool.
So back to Omi staking tier acceleration. So we want to know, like, for now, right? You pay a certain amount and you can accelerate yourself to a certain staking tier. Will there in the future be other ways to get acceleration? For example, maybe, a burn to like a play you play, right? You play and you burn. Like there's games that you maybe can create that people, the more they play, the more Omi they burn. That can also unlock that accelerated tier. Will it always be just through payment, or will there eventually be other avenues to get accelerated tiers?
Yeah, so at the moment, it's not just like pay and fast track. I mean, you can do that. But because we know that a lot of the Omi features will roll out before staking, that's kind of where the burn rewards program came from, right? So that from the moment that you are spending Omi on anything in the app, you're earning those points. So that by the time staking goes live, if you've accrued that value, you can fast track, right? You're not double paying to get there. As to whether that would be available elsewhere, I mean, we would need to integrate third-party apps and games and marketplaces into our own systems, and I just don't, from a security standpoint, I just don't see that happening. So I think that anything like that will stay within our own ecosystem. But like I mentioned earlier, other games can reference your staking tier, and they can offer you tier benefits, discounts, and other items in their platform based on your staking tier, and we can do that without them needing to integrate directly into what we do. Yeah. Adam, have you had any further thoughts there?
Yeah, that's the primary driver of the burn reward points in the beginning was at least, like, there's going to be people that come in at the last minute, let's say forecasting way ahead to like the golden tickets for VeVeVerse land. There's going to be people that wait all the way up to that point and then try to fast track and get some tickets. Well, those people are going to be paying that fee, and that fee's burned on me. People that are using the systems can use their burn reward points towards the same thing. So if you're buying bronze tickets, you're getting points. You're getting $1 worth of Omi burn points for every dollar you spend on bronze tickets. So we're going to have bronze tickets well ahead of staking, because we'll have to test those systems out and get it functional before that happens. So if you're playing the game, so to speak, you may already have all 7,500 worth of burn points to be a tier 5 staker on day one. And then it doesn't feel like you're just throwing Omi away just to get somewhere. So it's a way to go back to what I was saying earlier, reward the people that are using the system, not just somebody that hears about Omi and it's like, hey, I'm going to go stake and I'm going to do this. Let those people pay all those Omi fees. Everybody else, let's play the game and let's get there naturally, that kind of thing.
Yeah, because it's funny you mentioned bronze tickets. I actually was going to ask a question later on, but I'm going to bring it up now. I found it a little bit strange that in a way, like, you're spending money to get these bronze tickets. You use them on a drop. And if I understand correctly, you lose them if you don't get the drop. So really, you're just putting in money and it's gone. But with the MCP program, you get at least 90% of it back. Also, you have an opportunity with the MCP, like you still have your collectibles, right? Like and you accrue it as every day that goes by. Whereas the other one might put a bad taste in people's mouth. Has there been any talk about with the bronze ticket system, like you kind of mentioned, but maybe just like, bronze ticket exclusive drops or another way? So it just seems like it's a fast way to spend a lot of money.
Yeah, I mean, look, it kind of is, right? If that's what you're going for. But the value driver there isn't the bronze ticket. The value driver is the collectible, right? So if the collectible is from a brand or it's a big enough IP that you just want every chance you could possibly get to land that collectible for whatever reason, and say you don't use the VV app very often, then you probably can't use MCP points. So how do you do it? Bronze tickets, right? And then that benefits everybody that uses the Omi token, while providing the same benefit to that user, right? So yeah, I think that having both options is really important. And we have so much good IP. Right, like obviously you guys have seen a lot of it, but like, well, not even a lot of it, but Like
there's more.
There's heaps more, right? There's so much more that will keep coming. So I think that there will always be a solid proposition there to want to land the collectible, right? And it's easy to look at these systems now while the market's a bit depressed and think, oh, well, why would I ever pay to try and land that? I can get it on the drop. But I mean, when we're talking, millions, if not tens of millions of users coming in over the next few years, landing that drop is going to be harder and harder. And if you have a user base that's that big and that engaged, then presumably, right, no guarantees in life, presumably the demand for that collectible and then possibly the value appreciation after the fact is strong enough, right? So you're trying to give people ways to have fun in landing these collectibles, but also give everybody an option regardless of whether they've been a long-term collector or they've just found the app.
And go back and think like a Golden Moments drop, like partner statue. We had peak usage, like everybody was going for that. How many people do you think would have thrown $5 worth of Omi to get 5 extra chances at landing that? It's not so much about allowing somebody to strong arm everybody else, because if somebody goes in there and puts 15,000 bronze tickets, they can still only win one time. It doesn't let them go in there and get the entire allotment. So how much would it be worth to you on what is a grail to you individually if you know that it's going to be a contested event? Spend some MCP points for a few slots. Throw a couple of bronze tickets at some slots. It's about amount of users that might want to just have that small benefit. If you've got $3 or $4 worth of Omi, you throw in there. I mean, it's increasing your chances. And the only reason we could even design the OUP with this stuff in it is because of what we saw in the past, because nobody would have ever dreamed to come up with this kind of stuff, before that happened. So now that we've seen it, and like Rhys said, we're in a down market. Things don't really sell out right now. Inflation's up. Everything's going on. The world's collapsing, whatever, FTX, all that stuff. That'll all go away and you'll forget all about it. And then but I'll ask a question to both of y'all. What is one drop from any IP, even if they don't have it, that you think you would spend 100 bronze tickets to try to get?
So I think that people would spend it if they believe that the collectible has a perfect balance of not too much scarcity, but maybe it's in the thousands that they still have a chance to get it. And it's something that they can, at least upon reward, have that status with it. Obviously be overlisted if they were a flipper. So I think if they believe they have a shot and they think that it's not too competitive, they would put in money to maybe give them that extra little bit. Because I always like to say a story where, guys, I don't know if you guys know about stags. It's when someone gets married, right? The guys all get together and then they buy raffle tickets. One day I put one raffle ticket in every single bucket. I had one of the guys tell me, "You're never going to win with one ticket." I ended up winning 2 prizes that day. So it is true that it just sometimes takes one ticket to make the difference.
Exactly.
But what is a character or whatever that you would spend tickets on? Even one that
Pokemon.
Yeah.
Done.
So let's say that, and I don't speak for the company in any means, but let's say your Grail to you comes out and then there's only 500 of it, but you know that there's 50,000 people going for it. What would you spend? MCP points, bronze tickets, that kind of stuff. Like that's where we were thinking when we came up with these systems. Is it doesn't just mean you go there and you're just trying to be the fastest person to click the button anymore.
Yeah.
It's how many slots do you have in that entry?
And to second that point, let's say you think the brand that you've been waiting for has just come out, so you've spent all your MCP points on additional slots, and then a week later, something bigger comes out or something. You're like, oh, I have to have that, but now you've got no points. Bronze tickets are your only chance to increase there, right? If you don't have a gold ticket or something like that. So it's even though MCP points will accrue daily or however that system is rolling out, I think there will always be a place for people to want additional spots. But that's part of the game, right? When do you use the points? When do you spend the gold ticket? These ones are gold and silver are going to expire every 3 months. So you actually have a very finite window to spend those tickets on a particular item, and you might mess that up, right? You might spend it 1 week, and then the thing you really want drops the next week. Well, now you can go and buy those tickets using OMI tokens from other collectors who won't spend theirs, right? So there's incentive everywhere to kind of keep that collecting front and center.
Yeah, that's cool, because we've seen recently as well. David talked about music and sports. I think sports, if you get some sports on your app there, you're going to bring in the gamblers. And I think that's maybe the perfect storm for people to be buying these tickets and looking at OMI and looking at OUP, because that's what they do. I mean, every Sunday people are going to the store or whatever, gambling on games. So it's the same type of thing if you get a rookie card or something like that on the app.
Yeah, and we're going to release the the drop info, so you have some odds and you kind of understand what was submitted, what wasn't. And as Adam mentioned earlier, at the end of the day, you can put in 15,000 tickets. It's still a randomized selection, right? You're just increasing the chances there. With bronze tickets specifically, we're talking about. But, yeah. What about just quickly, Joe? Is there an IP you're waiting for that you would?
I'm waiting for sports. I mean, okay. if you guys get some hockey or football or something in there, I think I'll be about it. And then obviously, like Rob mentioned, we're all waiting for Pokemon. So hopefully, you guys eventually are able to get them on board. But we'll keep our fingers and toes crossed. That leads into my next question. What's your favorite Pokemon?
Genuine question?
Genuine questions on the list.
What is my favorite Pokemon? I mean, I'm a big fan of the classics, the Charizards, the Pikachus, all those things. I quite like Venusaur.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I think that was one of mine. I used to start
plant-based.
Plant-based. Yeah. The green light.
How about you, Puddin?
Me?
Yeah.
Yeah, you see all these wrinkles and like how tired I am. So I was graduating high school while everybody else was playing Pokemon. I have never played it ever.
No way.
My son absolutely loves it. And I would have to ask him what his favorite is, but I couldn't even tell you. I've never played it.
That's fair. My brother and I, we used to have Pokemon Red and Blue, and we had a Red and Blue Game Boy, right, back when Game Boy Color came out in the late 90s or whatever. And I still remember you'd connect, if you wanted to trade something, you'd connect the wire, and when the trade was happening, you pull the wire out at the last minute. You both end up with the Pokemon and all that kind of stuff. That were the earliest.
I remember that for sure.
How
much has changed?
Yeah, that's it.
That's why the kids now are so addicted. They don't have to go through that level of effort anymore and actually meet up and look each other in the eye and do the trade, right?
Exactly.
Only because you brought up trades. Hashtag when transfers, if ever.
Yeah, look, I have touched on this previously. I don't know. At the moment, it is very much under sort of that anti-money laundering basket of regulation. So that's why with the bronze tickets, we've tried to make them a transferable item, so there is something that can be sent back and forth. Obviously, at least at the moment, the way we get away with that is because they're a consumable item. You can't exchange them, you can't redeem them for anything else, and you're redeeming them effectively for a zero cost item, right? You're affecting them for a chance to acquire a collectible. So we're really hoping that fills the gap in the meantime. And then I think the talk internally is that eventually, hopefully the MCP ranks or things like that really show that in-app normal human behavior will kind of allow us that granularity to say, okay, well, if you're in this rank and above, you're a real user. We have your KYC. Maybe it requires some additional KYC documents or something, because we're very aware of how effective that is as something for us all to enjoy. So it's
no talks of like if it was in family or something like that to do transfers for wife to husband or
kids. There probably is room for something like that, but then we'd need extra verification, or they'd have to become a sub account of your main account, or some there'd have to be some extra level there that we just don't have as a capability yet.
Okay.
I'm gonna quickly just bring up another question from Hello K here. He says, would they do an OMI themed unicorno? Binance launched a Tokidoki 2, and they did a special Binance BSC themed unicorno that was super rare. Plus OMI, or when OMI unicorno? Ask Simon or someone.
It's a great question, actually. If anyone was going to do it, probably Simone. So maybe I'll ask. I'll see what his appetite is. He's already, like you say, he's done it with Binance, so he kind of knows what's going on there. Could be an option.
All right. question, we want to circle back. When this first came out, we thought it was kind of a big deal. It sounds like, Rhys, you covered it, but Apple's starting to enforce the 30% fees. And from our interpretation, that covers all utility in the App Store. How, like, when you marry the app and the web platform so that Omi is now connected, how does that complicate that whole issue with Apple, if there even is an issue when Omi comes in?
It doesn't. Anything Omi crypto related will be on the web app, which is our standalone platform, and we can accept payments and do things as we wish. I think that the app, as you know it on iPhone, will pretty, not stay as it is. It will have all new updates and things, but in terms of the payment gateways, yeah, that's why it's not the entire reason, but it's a big reason why we built the web app in the first place. Obviously benefits our bottom line, but we knew that Apple would come down and start enforcing these kind of things. So I think we even saw Epico Regal had to remove their redemption code feature this week as well. I think Coinbase even said they had to remove the ability to transfer NFTs because Apple was trying to get a piece of the gas fee, which doesn't even make sense, right? Like, you can't comply with that. It's not a fee that they're taking. But otherwise, I mean, our relationship with Apple is fine. It's been this way since day one, right? That's the gems are the in-app purchase, so they get their cut, and then it can be used for whatever it is in the app. So we've been building to mobile devices since day one, whereas I think it's more of a shock to people who started with a web platform, went to mobile, and now have to restrict everything on their mobile app. Yeah.
Okay. We got a winner for our prize here. We got Ricky Tan Wildfire Juju Utility Program. That is the answer. So let's go. Rhys confirmed it was real in the first AMA. So we'll definitely be letting you know about our Juju Utility Program. But that is the answer. So Ricky, reach out on Twitter and DM me or something. We'll figure out how to get you your package. So continuing, I guess Puddin brought this up a little bit earlier, but FTX, that made some shockwaves that obviously didn't help Bitcoin or any other crypto space. Web3 give it a little bit of a step back. So obviously we're in this market still that we're waiting to recover from. We got a little bit better inflation news yesterday or today, and it seems like maybe a slow way back up, but eventually we'll get there. Does it make sense though, because of what happened with FTX, to maybe have Omi? I know that we're in the bear market. You've spoke to it before, where you said maybe not the best time to put it on different exchanges, but because we've seen FTX get taken down, such a big prominent exchange. I know we have a bunch. We did a video on a couple of days ago. There's like 6 exchanges, plus you got the Uniswap. Is it enough if one of the big ones gets taken down, and then like how much would that hurt the Omi ecosystem? Does it make sense to go into it in the bear market so that when people do look for it, they're able to find it once we do get that bull market?
Yeah. I mean, it's not like we've stopped listing places, right? It's more just that we took a step back and just wanted to see where the dust settled on that front. But one big thing for us now that Omi is an ERC20 token means that there could be 0 centralized exchanges and you could still access the token, right, through the Uniswap pool. So it's a really important feature for people to remember, just of the Ethereum ecosystem in general, right? We actually don't need centralized players anymore. But the learning curve is bigger to use a decentralized exchange, right? That's why people still use the FTXs and the Binances and that kind of thing. So no, I don't think another exchange could fall apart. I mean, if we're not listed on it, it makes no difference to us. Obviously, if it's a big exchange, it will affect the market, right? And I don't think we're immune to that. But in terms of accessing the token and adoption moving forward, it doesn't make any difference to us, right? And this is in the OUP, but I think the biggest driver for us is being able to make Omi available in the web app, right? So that no one needs it. People can that service will be provided. You can access the token. You don't need to sign up to an exchange. Okay.
Yeah. No, I think more for the exchanges was like, I know a lot of people shouldn't do this, but a lot of people keep their stuff on BitForex, right? So if BitForex goes down, I guess that's what I'm trying to get at. If BitForex goes down, you lose a big portion of your clients. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. I mean, but as you just said, people shouldn't be doing that.
Yeah.
Okay. So BitForex is not a tier 1 exchange. You should not leave any assets on any exchange, especially not a lower tier. Yeah. Okay. So to your point, we lose a big chunk of our clientele. Well, I think those token holders stand to lose a lot more.
Yeah. Exactly. And you mentioned about how VeVe is also able to hold the tokens on their platform. And we're talking a little bit about the FTX collapse, of course. Are you able to provide some sort of security to the people who have their token on on Veve? Are there precautions to make sure that it's secure and not at risk of cyber attack? Is there insurances or plans to keep it there?
Yeah. I mean, I think a lot of people that have come in over the past 18 months may not even be aware that we started in cold storage. We have our own secure wallet. It's a cold storage wallet. So securing assets, maintaining all those things is our bread and butter, basically. We're obviously not just doing it with the OMI token. We're custodying all of these collectibles too, right? So it's always been number one priority. It's also a reason why we don't speak about our security practices openly.
Obviously.
Yeah, just I think I'd leave it at that for now. But obviously, we've been doing this for quite a number of years now.
Yeah, and then I guess when it comes to collectibles, you kind of mentioned it there. You guys keep the custody of the collectibles, and it looks like with VeVeVerse and all these things coming on, it's looking less and less likely for interoperability. I mean, I don't know if that's still on the roadmap or if it's.
I wouldn't make that assumption.
No. Okay.
That's all. Interoperability is still very much. Look, it's always been part of our roadmap. It's something that our licensors are coming to understand if they didn't already, and I think we'll see a lot of that opportunity moving forward.
Cool.
Question about the buybacks, but it's not a direct question because obviously, it wouldn't be an OMI discussion if the discussion of buybacks doesn't get brought up eventually by the community. But what I thought was interesting was that we know the buybacks isn't happening. And as almost like a way to like, I guess, right the wrongs, there's a discussion about using the 5.6 billion OMI tokens from the Business Development Fund as an alternative to the buybacks, and then I guess clean it up going forward. But why not just move? Like, why do that? Is it just to please the current OMI token holders? Like, won't you eventually, based on Puddin's modeling, won't that just be a drop in the bucket?
Yes.
So why bother? Just maybe use that money for business development.
This is to make people whole, right? This is to make things whole from our original plans. And I've always said if buybacks couldn't happen, then we would do something that had a equal to or greater impact on token supply. So burning that amount of tokens is basically to wipe the slate clean and say, okay, here's the move we're making. Here's a greater impact than we would have had under that original system. And then to your point, yes, all of our modeling, even in the most conservative sense, has a greater impact on what those buybacks would have. And that's after 2 pretty successful breakout years for the platform. Yeah.
Okay. I guess OMI in the app, you mentioned the goal is eventually be able to buy it through the app to be, I guess, utilized directly. How do you see this working, like in a structure? Is there going to be an OMI pool? How is it funded for people to make those transactions?
Yeah, so that integration will be through a payment services provider, similar to the way that we use Wire now for crypto pay in and out and that kind of thing. Well, that makes it great for us because we don't have to maintain the infrastructure. Basically, we have to make the service available. But from their end, they would effectively need to maintain a liquidity pool on layer 1, base chain Ethereum, and on Immutable X layer 2. So it would be up to them to be bridging tokens back and forth as they need. Presumably, for the most part, it would be a one-way sort of transaction. I don't think they'd have a need to roll back down. So that would be on them to maintain. For the user, all you really see in the app, there'll be maybe next to the Get More Gems or somewhere in the wallet section, where you can see your OMI wallet, it would be like, buy OMI or get more OMI. And then same thing, you could credit card purchase, that kind of stuff. So payment services provider maintains those pools. Those tokens come from the active market because it's on them to maintain that. And they would obviously clip a service provider fee for making that transaction happen. I don't think there's anything else to add there, Adam, do you?
Yeah, just being able to integrate that system in, and then looking outwards in the bigger ecosystem of it, there's going to be a lot more functions on layer 2 in the future, because it's one of the only ways that crypto can really get anywhere close to the speeds required to operate a lot of these systems. Because if you picture like Uniswap, anybody that's used it, it's a terribly clunky, slow system, but it's decentralized, trustless maximum. So the hybrid is the in between, and being able to have that OMI pool there just available, and then being able to access it directly without having to know anything about, oh, I got to go to this exchange and sign up. Now I got to register a wallet. Now I got to transfer it over here. Now I got to bridge it. Like, there's still a lot of upfront effort to get your OMI to layer 2. We do want to improve all of that over time. It's just the technology is still being developed by IMX and coordinating with the Veve team and a lot of the other stuff to get to that point. But that is the end goal, is to just make it as user friendly as possible.
Yeah, exactly right. And you can imagine the user flow, right? You want to join the drop wait list. You don't have any bronze tickets. It pops up saying, buy OMI to buy bronze tickets or whatever it happens to be. One click, it's in your wallet, the transaction happens and you move on, right? So, we might get to a point where some of those users don't buy OMI to hold it at all, right? They just buy it at the point of sale, right? Or whenever they want to transact in it, which is fine because then it's literally just buying it from the market and burning it, right? But it's all user initiated and community driven there. Yeah.
So that technology actually doesn't exist yet to make it instantaneous. That IMX is working on that, and eventually that'll be the case.
Yeah, that stuff is. I think Adam was referring more specifically to like an automatic bridging system, right? So because at the moment, you buy OMI on an exchange, it's layer 1. You want to put it in Veve, it's layer 2. A lot of people send it straight to their Veve app and then go through months of support trying to find their tokens and get them back, right? So eventually, it would be great if you could just send in layer 1 OMI to the exact same wallet address and it would bridge it for you. Complications with gas fees and those kind of things obviously come up, but over time, gas fees are going to get cheaper. Onboarding is easier. Wallets are easier. We're still, I know we all say this all the time, but it's like day one in crypto, right? It's so early. So yeah, that technology needs to be built.
Yeah, because we saw right now with the new McFarlane project where you have to link your wallet and then you can drop your NFTs into a space. So I guess at first we would be buying things with OMI kind of off to the side and then dropping them down, let's say in that VeVeVerse environment or wherever we want to use them in the app. It's the same kind of idea.
Yeah, more or less. I mean, if you're buying a collectible with OMI, it's the same as buying with gems, right? It ends up in your wallet and then you can do whatever you want to do. But for now, at least, all your wallets are internal and custodied by us. Moving forward with the VeVeVerse and things like that, yeah, maybe we'll move to a similar model where you control your own wallet and funds and it just pairs in. But again, then, we really always have to focus our designs around a non-qualified audience, right? A lot of people find Veve, use it, it's very easy, but they have no idea about crypto. So moving to something that is too crypto will probably hemorrhage that growth, right? So it's really a matter of making sure that when we roll things like that out, if we do, that we have the right education in place, we have the right steps. And I mean, I can tell you firsthand, that's an uphill battle, right? I can put out every single instruction, every dot point, follow it bit by bit, and people will still very easily make mistakes. And I understand some of that is language barrier and all those things too, but it just shows me kind of time and time again that we need to be able to simplify this experience as much as possible to really get that adoption.
Yeah, I think that was probably one of the greatest advantages of Veve.
That's why we joined. Yeah.
Yeah, you just
download so easy.
App.
Yeah. Credit card, boom, bam, you're in, right?
Yeah, exactly. Rather than, all right, most people can figure out how to download MetaMask, but then even getting into crypto is a challenge, right? And wherever you're using it, whether it's an exchange or MoonPay or one of these services. So yeah, there's a lot of barriers there that we really need to remove and streamline.
Yeah. Okay. So I guess going back to the tickets here, the golden tickets, we haven't talked too much about them, but we did notice one of the perks was land in the VeVeVerse potentially. Is it going to be the only way to get land in the VeVeVerse, or do you know yet?
No, I don't think so. I think at the moment, and this may change, and I've gone out for community feedback on this, but for that particular gold ticket redemption, we're thinking about an exclusive sort of OMI homies section of the map.
Okay.
That you could use those tickets to redeem land in, and maybe you can only get land in that area every 12 months using that gold ticket redemption, something like that. So it becomes more and more exclusive. I think that would also help to, I don't want to segment the user base, but I think it would help, like if you are a crypto enthusiast and you've come into the VeVeVerse and you have this area of qualified crypto enthusiasts, then maybe that's where you choose to deploy your Metaverse building or your Metaverse product, because you're it's targeted, right? You're in the right place. So I think there's a lot of merit to a system like that. As to other land sales and things, no, I think we'll release in estates or different areas, and some of those may become available before that gold ticket redemption.
Okay, and we're talking about digital land here, so it's obviously not finite in existence. It could be finite, but it doesn't have to be. Now, I guess that's the next question. Is it something that you guys plan to make finite? Because you're going to have a lot of people who are going to be staking a lot of OMI, wanting to buy land, and if you all of a sudden come up with more land in the same area or in the OMIverse, whatever, is the plan to keep it finite or potential expansion? Like, people will want to know that up front, I think.
Yeah, and look, we'll release that up front when we actually get closer to it. I think there's a lot of options there, right? Like, you can release a finite package of land within a certain ring, and then the next one might be bigger and around it, right? So if you were in early, you're in the most exclusive kind of zone, right? And then each year, right, you're still in this exclusive land, but it's further out, right? So there's opportunities there to create scarcity without just limiting the entire, how the whole map can develop. That's probably what I'd say to that. Adam, I think you're working on some map designs, aren't you?
Maybe.
Wow.
So picture a city. Let's think New York, like Manhattan. You have specific areas that are like commercial. There's no reason there can't be commercial land in all these different areas of the VeVeVerse where the company rents the land out to real businesses. Like, there might be an Amazon store in there. Now, don't hold me to any of this. This is just all non-financial advice, just pie in the sky stuff. But there could be retail businesses that know the areas that are the most populated or the most active in the areas of the VeVeVerse. And you might go in there and order an Apple phone from an Apple store. Who knows? The sky is kind of wide open there. But we can unlock areas. Like, you don't want to go out and just open up a whole giant map with millions of places right out of the gate. So like Rhys said, it may start as a small inner ring, which is kind of perfect since OMI is a circle, and then that's like your season 1 golden ticket redemptions are all there. So then year 2 might add on to that ring, but there'll be new areas, parks, whatever. I myself have not been inside the VeVeVerse, so don't hold me to any of that. But just picture it like a real world area. And there'll be attraction areas. There'll be places that if you have land in this one spot, it might be right in the middle of everything. Yeah. It might be the hangout, that kind of stuff. So there's a lot of different stuff we can do and add to. And the good thing about the way we're doing the golden tickets is we're going to know ahead of time how many people will more than likely be able to even buy land in that first year, other than the people that come at the very end and try to get some golden tickets. So there's a lot of things we can do. I don't want to talk too much about it
that's it. And look, just to add to the speculation, because I find it a really fun conversation. You can also put limits on like how high buildings can go, right? And then maybe the next thing is actually you're buying airspace above your building, or you buy, like some sort of advertising space or anything like that, right? Like it's literally like, if you can imagine it, you can make it happen, right? And then don't forget that those parcels of land would then also be an NFT, right? So then it's your item, you own it, you can rent it, you can do whatever. With the same fundamental like drivers to the VeVeVerse, right? Branded license IP. People have a reason to come to our metaverse, which I think a lot of other metaverses currently struggle with, right? It's, okay, you can come in, you can display your collectibles, that kind of thing, but that's the extent of the experience, right? Now, if I was another metaverse, a sandbox, a Decentraland, something like that, and I know that in one particular area, I have this huge qualified audience of crypto people, and I can buy land there and drop my portal to my metaverse or whatever, well, then you've now got, you now have incentive for those companies to come into that particular region or that particular space. So, yeah, I just, what we currently think about the metaverse or the VeVeVerse is going to be so far different in 10 years' time to what it is now, but our ideas are certainly not getting smaller.
And the best part about all of it is the way they've set it up with the TypeScript and everything. everyone is going to be able to create their own world. So just picture something as simple as you got a plot beside a main thoroughfare, and you type scripted up a billboard, and you rent that out to some company that's not even related to VeVeVerse or anything else, and you have that like a GIF of an ad playing on there, and you make revenue off of that. All right, it's kind of unlimited options when you allow the community to build their own stuff.
Exactly. And then maybe to access those services, you need some OMI tokens just to, what we do.
The people are loving the conversation. I don't know if you saw VV Arcade says these got to be monthly along with the AMAs. I'm sure Alex would love that. Omi Dillyburn also loves it. He's saying, "Oh yeah," here. So,
oh yeah.
So I gotta say though, a couple things. One thing is we actually recently did a video talking about active users in the Web3 space, and we brought up Sandbox and Decentraland, and it was like only like 60 users. So when you like remember that embarrassing number, Joe? Yeah. So like when you mentioned that other metaverses and other companies are struggling to bring people in, I think we all know that if Veve were to put a metaverse out, you're not going to get 60 daily active users. Right now you have like 2,000 on the app. Yeah. So that makes full sense. And the second thing is, I mean, this is just for Joe and I, because we want to know, will there be land in the universe amongst the stars?
It's a great question, actually. And it's funny you say that, because as we were having that conversation, I was like, oh, maybe we can teleport to the moon, and you have a land release on the moon, and you teleport somewhere else, like, I mean, all of those things are available, right? And possibilities there. So I won't say no to anything at this stage.
Yeah. It'd be a good superstar moment. And look, we should have asked this earlier, but do you ever see Pokemon allowing their IP to be part of an NFT project?
This is my complete speculation, obviously, no confirmations. But yeah, I mean, I think every company is looking very closely at this space, right? If we're talking about their IP specifically, it's actually managed across 5 or 6 different geographic regions. It's quite a hard license to kind of be able to produce those products in every jurisdiction. But I believe that physical products will eventually become inferior in terms of volume and market size to digital products, right? It's just the availability of digital products, the instant distribution, the communication that we now have around these kind of items is so much stronger than I ever would have had over something physical. And when you look around at everything physical, right, like furniture sets, all your house accoutrements and artworks and all of that stuff, and consider that can be digitized and then communities built around it, I just think the market opportunity is too big for companies like that to ignore. Yeah.
Okay. I guess with that VeVeVerse demo that Dan did at DCon, I know it's not your guys' direct. I guess you guys don't review it directly, but a lot of questions in our DMs about IP related to the VeVeVerse. I mean, we all think long term everything you guys have on there is going to be on the VeVeVerse, or we hope so. Is that still the goal, or have there been like real big pushbacks against doing that because maybe people want to do their own thing?
No, I mean, at the moment, that home space, that VeVeVerse, is an extension of your showroom. So there's no pushback there. It's really using your collectibles effectively in the same way, just in a more effective and immersive way. But no, we're seeing the opposite from a lot of licensors once they actually see what we're demoing. And I will say that what people have seen was a home space demo, not a VeVeVerse demo, right? Even though it's one and the same. So no, they're all looking at this space like, okay, how can we be a part of it, right? And I'm, for one, I'm very excited to roll out some of those licensed IP worlds and experiences Q2 or whenever they're slated.
Sounds like fun. So is it fair to assume then that OMI will be the sole currency within that VeVeVerse, or will fiat still be part of that?
I think fiat will still be part of it. I wouldn't be surprised to see other cryptos eventually, same as what we're kind of introducing to the Veve app, just to give people opportunity and availability of whatever token or currency they want to use. But obviously we'll be doing the same thing to make sure that it's benefiting OMI.
Yeah. Okay. And again, speaking of decom, we've seen the Veve logo on the Cavernous website over there, so we know that they've been helping out with the VeVeVerse. Is their platform capable yet of supporting cryptocurrency or OMI token? If not, like a Shopify kind of thing, or is it something that they still got to work out?
Great question. One that I don't have the answer to. My assumption is yes, because it's you can really just integrate third-party SDKs and APIs. But I'll find out before I say they can do it right now.
Cool.
Okay. And more than likely, I just picture that, and this is just my speculation, but I just picture that being like playing any RPG game that's been in existence ever. Like you're running around in the VeVeVerse and you may walk into an IKEA store or something and want to buy a couch. Well, it'll pop up a screen that's actually connecting to something outside of there. And then you can make your purchase essentially in that portal while you're still inside of the game, so to speak. That's just kind of how I picture that.
Yeah. I think I saw like an advertisement once where you can like kind of put the couch right in your room and then just buy it right like that using those goggles. But
yeah, and don't forget, I mean, that's the intention with collectibles too, right? You walk into somebody else's showroom, whether it's one of your friends or someone you're just exploring, you can see that info there. I think IMX just rolled out a make an offer feature. Whether that's what we use or not, I'm not sure, but to eventually be able to like, touch that collectible and say, well, I'll give you this much for it or something like that. Like that's part of the immersive experience.
Yep. Okay, and then shout out Superstar Crimson from Discord. He had a question from YouTube as well. He asked, will there ever be airdrops for comic sets? And then actually let's answer that first, then I'll do the follow-up.
Great question. No idea. Possible, but I think at the moment, at least, most of the comics are selling as well. So I don't know that there's that much inventory left to do airdrops with if it was after the fact. But the comics are really, it's a separate product, right? Like collectibles, you collect in sets. Comics, you're not really collecting the set, even though you're collecting 5 different colors, right? It's kind of treated differently. So internally, I think for now, we'd probably stick with collectible airdrops.
Okay, and then the follow-up question was, will airdrops for sets stop when MCP and OUP are announced because that's already being given a benefit through that program?
No, not necessarily. No, the airdrops thing is really just an added layer of reward, incentive, whatever you want to call it. It will always be down to the licensor's discretion as to whether they want to do an airdrop or what reasons they have for it. And don't get me wrong, sometimes that might be based on demand, right? Obviously, you guys saw 12 months ago we released the same figure in 5 different poses. The demand isn't there for that kind of item now, right? So it's it'll always be in flux, but yeah, I think that's kind of how we'll approach it.
Okay. I see some in the comments here, Rob. I don't know if you picked up any, but here's one kind of a loaded question. I guess maybe I'll follow it up, but we got Omi Daily Bird asking, will everything be traceable on blockchain from that program, I guess? Or is there going to be somewhere like the portal where you can go and track stuff?
Yeah, so once crypto pay-in is live to the public, you'll be able to track the Omi to Gem pool on the token tracker site. Token.vv.me, I think.
Yep.
And then when it comes to the in-app transactions, so the way we're designing it at the moment is that we would have effectively like a spot wallet, the same way an exchange would work, and probably a secondary staking wallet as well. So I think you'd see all of the tokens that are sitting in those wallets, but you probably won't see the individual transactions. That's right, isn't it, Adam?
Right, but what you will see are deposits to the spot wallet, withdrawals, and you'll see all of the burns that are being burned. So all of your functions that use OMI and the OUP, you have to have your OMI tokens in the spot wallet. That way it can be instantly transacted and we're not waiting on anything and we're not populating millions of transactions to IMX because IMX itself even has a rate limit. So we envision this, we're planning for millions of people using this. So by doing it in a spot wallet, then once an hour, you're going to see a bunch of tokens go from the spot wallet to the reserve, which is essentially your burn. And then later on down the road, they'll probably just go straight from the spot wallet to the burn wallet, just a couple of years from now. And then the same thing is true for the staking. You'll be able to see all of the deposits to the staking wallet on IMX. You'll see all of the fast tracking fees that get burned out of there. And you'll be able to keep up and track when people unstake So if we don't do a good job of balancing the system and keeping customer attrition, we may see a bunch of withdrawals out of the staking wallet. That just means we need to make it better. Like all of it is set up in a way to where the community is the strongest part of everything that Veve has. So the whole system is built around exactly what the community wants to use, and that's shown through numbers. So once we start collecting data and numbers, we'll be able to see what we need to change and open to feedback and all of that stuff. The people that are using the feedback form on the OUP portal, I applaud you, because there's been some really great things come through on there. Some real good constructive feedback. And we listen to every bit of that.
Yeah. Okay. From Der VV Meister, he asks, when do our two guests expect exchanges to list layer 2 OMI? Wouldn't they miss out on plenty of fees?
Wouldn't they miss out on plenty of fees? Interesting. When do we expect? So only a few exchanges are onboarding directly to layer 2 at the moment. And it's really important to understand that a lot of them, there's a lot of layer 2s coming online, but I wouldn't say that they're all battle tested, right? At the moment, the only sort of general purpose ones we're looking at that would be Arbitrum and Optimism. I think Binance now onboards to both of those and off-ramps to both of those. But from an exchange point of view, it's probably they would integrate when there's more demand, right? Because if there's more demand for the token or the network, then they're going to collect fees. Wouldn't they miss out on plenty of fees? If an exchange onboards directly to layer 2, it doesn't change their fee structure on the exchange, right? It makes it cheaper to transact or to withdraw from the exchange, say to your layer 2 wallet. But if they're charging you fees for that withdrawal or anything else, no, I think that would stay the same. It's honestly, it's exactly the same as integrating a new blockchain, right? An exchange could integrate Cardano, or an exchange integrates Ethereum or whatever. Integrating IMX is the same effectively, just the technology is a little bit different. So yeah, timeline, no idea. It really just depends on demand for that network and whether it makes sense for the exchange to go directly to it.
Okay. And guys, we have only a short period of time now, maybe another 5 to 8 minutes. So if you have any further questions, please put them in. We'll try to bring them up. We have another question here. Bridging. It looks like a very technical question. What happens behind the scenes? Does the GoOmi being bridged to Ethereum get sent to a burn wallet, and then a message gets sent to the Ethereum contract telling it to create OMI on ETH? So I don't know if one of you guys want to take this.
This is talking about the token migration, Adam?
I think it's going backwards.
Like more like migration. On the migration side of things, the GoOmi is destroyed in the source wallet, and a new ERC20 OMI is created on the ETH network as far as the migration goes. So you're actually destroying the Go20 version of OMI. Way back in the past, we had a swap that made a WOMI and all that stuff, but that's kind of irrelevant at this point. Now, bridging, on the other hand, is you're rolling up an existing asset or a token to a layer 2 contract, which is IMX. And then IMX is keeping a record of how many of those are on their layer 2. So there's not a way to create new ones on layer 2 without first bridging or rolling up an existing token, an ERC20 token. So it makes it where it's kind of like a placeholder, if that's the best way to say
it. That's probably a good way to put it. Yeah, that way, so if you're bridging back down, if you're going from IMX to an exchange, for example, or to your own wallet, then an exchange, it's basically the same thing. You're sending those tokens back in. The layer 1 contract is saying, okay, we have those tokens. We'll release them to you on the main chain. But to this question specifically, I think they're talking about migrating the token. So from when we went from GoChain OMI to Ethereum OMI, and as Adam just said, yeah, one gets destroyed and one gets released.
Okay. We got another one here from Nabil. He asked this a long time ago. I don't think we specifically asked, and then the merge article just came out, so I haven't read it yet. But did someone ask if OMI is transferred with a merge account?
That's a great question. No, I don't think so. It certainly wasn't in the article that I wrote. So anyone who has OMI in their VV wallets can log into the web wallet. Right? And I want to make that distinction. It's not the web app, the web wallet, which is omi.vv.me. And that will let you access your OMI tokens. Now, I'll confirm this, but my thinking at the moment is you would be safer to move that OMI out of any wallet that you were going to merge your accounts, and then move it back into the number 1 wallet. I don't think we are transferring OMI tokens. I think it's more like that.
That's a very good question, though.
Yeah.
Okay, and that's why it's better just go transfer it out, log in to your non-KYC'd account can still transfer the OMI.
Correct. You've always had access to those tokens. Yeah. So non-KYC'd account, you should be able to transfer those tokens out. Okay.
If you want to, you could go ahead and just transfer them to your other account.
Yeah.
You can go in there, log into your other account. I don't know if account restrictions are disabled actually affects that token set.
Not for OMI transfers. It shouldn't.
Right.
It shouldn't.
So you should be able to access your OMI regardless of the status of your account. Don't hold me to that, but I think that's how it works.
Yeah, I think that's right as well. So yeah, that's a good point. Just send it to the account that you are going to merge to. That will become your one main account. Of course, always send a test transaction before you do any of that. But it's IMX, it's layer 2, which should happen in fractions of a second, so it shouldn't be too hard to figure out there. If you're sending it anywhere else, you need to remember that you are on layer 2. So you can send it to a MetaMask wallet, provided you have linked to that MetaMask to layer 2. And then you would have to roll down to layer 1 if you wanted to send to a ledger or an exchange.
Yeah. So because it's all layer 2, right? The safest would be within the VV app wallet to VV app wallet, unless you have a specific wallet on IMX, I guess, a layer 2 on IMX that you can send it to instead.
Correct. And look, it's not that hard to link a MetaMask wallet to IMX. You need to go to their marketplace, connect wallet, pay probably a small ETH gas fee to register your address, and then that's it. Your MetaMask is on layer 1 and layer 2, but the easiest way is just to send it to your other VV wallet. Yeah.
Okay. We got It's Just Me, and I think this has been answered before. Will a Comey give the reserve wallet a burn any purpose? I think
there's a couple people asking that question.
Yeah. So Adam, you could probably add some color to this, but the reserve wallet burn used to have a really solid foundation, right? That reserve wallet, when we originally set out, was to supply a pool of tokens for in-app purchase. Right? I think it was 40% of the total token supply. So as you bought gems, you were buying those tokens. They would actually go into your user wallet and generate the transaction IDs, but they would go straight out of the wallet because you were making a purchase at the time, right, in gems. And when we had to take OMI to gem out of the equation back in, what was that, early last year, April, May, something like that. It started to lose its function, that reserve, and the buybacks were going to continually trickle back in and top that up so that in-app purchase system could continue. But because it's now largely irrelevant, because we've had to take out that OMI to gem swap, I think I've said this before, but eventually, that reserve will just deplete now, right? It doesn't serve the same purpose as we originally intended. And now that you'll have a really simple one-click buy OMI button in the web app, we actually just don't need that reserve vault system anymore. It becomes a bit redundant. So we're replacing that, the ease of purchase with an ease of purchase, basically, with the ability to buy. Adam, you have anything to? You probably got a better.
Yeah, it's the best way to look at it is it's like the legacy of the original tokenomics. The original tokenomics had to be changed a lot because of Apple regulations and like how all that was working. There were some more things that were kind of issues with the way the OMI was burned and how many gems you would have that were backed by no dollars, that kind of stuff. The buybacks were always really passive. They never would have kept up with what the long term would have been of that reserve, the way the original system was set up. So it's kind of what's left over of that function. And so the way we start the OUP is we're just going to be putting all the OMI that's being used in the OUP into that reserve and let it just take the path of everything else that's already in there. So when you buy a gem, it moves OMI to the vault. When you spend your gems, it moves OMI from vault to burn. So the thinking was, instead of using a whole lot of development time and delaying the OUP and rebuilding this whole system, it was easier just to let it take place, just build the new system, let it interact with it. And then once it runs out, we just completely move to the whole brand new system. Yeah. And just kind of let it be a seamless integration and not try to develop and fix two things at the same time, because the OUP is the hottest item to actually get OMI utility back. So instead of spending any time trying to fix the reserve and vault and all that, we just leave it alone.
Yeah,
and then that get it later.
Fair, we did spend quite a bit of time trying to fix that system, right? And we actually did come up with a really incredible way to make that reserve last indefinitely while always deflating. But without the buyback as a link, it still served no real purpose, right? It looked really great and it would have been good and all of that, but it just didn't have the same function that we set out with. So instead, it's more just, let's get rid of that redundant system, let it run its course, and then the reserve, all the burning that will make a difference to people's holdings comes from the circulating supply.
Okay. And I'll slip in one last question here, because I haven't read the article myself. Are MCP points transferred with merge accounts?
Yeah, they are. Collectibles, comics, obviously, MCP points, and showrooms, I think. Now, there may be a limitation on showrooms if you have like...
The article said no.
But last time I heard, I think it was all 4 of them.
Okay, so all the accrued MCP points, if someone merged to all 4 other accounts into their main one, they would receive all the MCP points as an add-on to the one that they have on the main.
Yeah, that's my understanding of it, for sure. Yeah, and I don't think if there's any other... I mean, there's going to be limitations on, if it's a disabled account, you can't move it.
I think you can't. The article, at least you guys have, says opposite.
What does it say?
MCP will not be. That's what I read, at least.
Okay, all right. Maybe that's not a thing then. All right, let me confirm that. I was under the impression that it was.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, we just don't. I have not had a chance to read the article yet. That's why I asked those questions. So just to finish off the stream, guys. First, shout out Hinano. We met him at DCon. Great guy. Thank you for the super chat. Never necessary. We appreciate it though, nonetheless. Thank you so much. And again, Hinano, great guy. He actually just recently was on a YouTube channel, VeVeVerse, right? VeVeVerse. So big shout out to him. And then Foster Hill, thank you again for the super chat. Again, not necessary. There you go. So again, like guys, we cannot appreciate it enough that you are willing to come on the channel with us, have this AMA. Again, thank you to everyone in the community on our Discord, on Twitter, who reached out to us, gave us these questions. There were many more questions that we had, but we only had an hour and a half. And like usual, Rhys and Puddin are just killing it. So Joe, what do you think? Our usual end of stream?
Shout out Kryptoni. Kryptoni gave us a shirt at DCon. You can scan it and download the VV app. So that's pretty cool.
That's awesome.
Kryptoni. Yeah,
that's big. Hey, I will just say as well, for anyone who wants to watch this back later or catch any of the AMAs that have taken place in the last few weeks, they are all listed in the OMI token portal. So if you haven't seen the OMI token portal yet, do it. Get off your butt. Go check it out. But if you go to that announcements from recent posts, I think I've got it in there, or recent AMAs, something like that. So you can catch up on these at any point. Yeah,
if you have like 2 or 3 weeks where you're not doing anything and you want to try to read all of it, go for it.
Everybody will benefit by reading that, because you'll have an advantage. I mean, there's so many people. We saw OMI Daily Burn in there asking about blockchain. I think the whole reason is people want to have that advantage and be able to analyze and get that edge, because it's a new space. People are new to it, and early on, usually people can figure out the ways to get around things. So hopefully, I don't know, we're really excited after this. I think you guys answered all the questions, and they did a great job. Hopefully, people who are watching learned something from this, and you guys give OMI and OUP another look at the articles and stuff, because I think it's slept on right now, and I think it's going to have a big impact.
For sure. And look, I completely understand that it looks intimidating, right? I've tried to simplify things and it looks complicated, but it's only because you're seeing the behind the scenes stuff, right? The actual user experience will be very as easy as Veve is right now, right? It's more just, we want you to have that transparency. We want you to have that access. That's the whole point of the token portal, right? To really start to improve our communication, our education, and open that up so people will actually see, okay, well, if I make this play, this is the result, right? And I think that's important moving forward.
Yeah, we were going through the OMI token portal to help prepare for our discussion today, and sometimes you just can't even read it once. Like you read it, you walk away from it, and then it gets all fuzzy. Like I had to go back and confirm the question about the buybacks with the 13% from that, because there's just so much content that to really grasp it, you really got to become intimate with it review it maybe a couple times. And I think once it's actually in practice, it'll probably become a little bit more second nature for sure.
Yeah, exactly. Look, I'm sure that there's probably, a very small percentage of people who read our original white paper, right? It's not like, I know that the majority of people won't go through this kind of document, and that's okay, right? Because the ones that go through it might be able to find the advantages, and everybody else can still use the features to everybody's benefit. So,
yeah.
Cool.
All right. Let's close it out, Joe.
Appreciate it.
So guys, if you haven't already, don't forget, become a superstar, smash the subscribe button, join the superstar fam, hit the bell notification button so you got every single video. Rhys, and I know Puddin knows this. I don't know if you know this, Rhys. We have posted a video every single day, almost for 365 days. Wow. January the 2nd will be every day for 365 days. We will not stop. We'll see you again tomorrow and the day after, right till January the 2nd. Then after that, I guess you're gonna have to watch to find out what's gonna happen. Also now, Superstar VIP, $2.99 a month, get the star beside your name. Guys, we appreciate all your support. Thank you all so much. Thank you to everybody who is always interacting with us on our Discord, wherever. We love you guys. Thank you so much. Take care. Thank you, Rhys. Thank you, Adam.
Thank you, guys.
And we'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.
Bye.